Welcome back into the 2024 Top Buffs Countdown. We are jumping into the top 20 today. I am joined by football analyst William Gardner, and it's been exciting to go through this list. And there are a lot of guys in this next group that are you kind of, I felt like I was splitting hairs between where I was ranking them.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that the higher up you get, the harder it gets a little bit in those terms. So that's definitely true with a lot of these guys.
We are now up to number 19, and this is the third running back on the list, right? I think because we've already,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, yep.
And I had Dallin Hayden transfer from Ohio State 27th. You get him 25th. Brian all the way up at number 5, and I can see that. This is somebody that averaged 5.1 yards per carry on 130 rushing attempts at Ohio State. 3 years of eligibility left. 5'10", 205, good size, blue chip recruit coming out of high school in Memphis. It would not surprise me if Dallin Hayden proves to be the 5th best player on this team. I couldn't quite get to that point yet.
Well, I mean, he ran for 553 yards as a true freshman at Ohio State, which is that's a lot. That's a damn good season for a true freshman, especially at a school like that where everybody coming in as a superstar. So that tells you both he's played at the highest level and been successful at the highest level. So again, I'll repeat myself. Any one of these 4 running backs could be the guy. And it may change from week to week, but Dallin Hayden certainly brings a lot to the table. A little bit bigger than Micah Welch, and still sort of that shorter, stouter kind of a guy. So I think he brings a lot to the table for this offense.
At number 18 is Samuel Okunlola on the edge. I had him 21st. You had him at 11th, highest among the 3 of us, and Brian at 24. This is a versatile guy. You can play him as a stand-up kind of traditional outside backer. You can put his hand in the dirt. 4-star transfer on 24/7 Sports. There's a lot to like here.
Right. And I'm blanking. He comes from Pittsburgh, played opposite
Deion Hayes.
Deion Hayes out there. And so that's a heck of a pair of bookends. And now we got them both. So he's not the biggest of guys, but certainly has the quickness and the explosiveness and the length to be very effective out there. 6'4", 250, kind of a roughly kind of the same size as Arden Walker, I guess, but very effective pass rusher, very active on the edge. Has played a lot of football at our level, so I think he comes in and right off the bat is in the mix. To get after the passer.
And this is part of that 40-40-20 plan of you're going to have a lot of guys that come in with just 1 year of eligibility left. You're going to be pretty selective with high school recruiting, but there has been, and this has gone somewhat unnoticed by some of the national media that wants to kind of keep their message that's convenient to them, is that Coach Prime and his staff are bringing in a lot of guys with multiple years of eligibility. And we talked about Dallin Hayden. He was trending up, but he wanted his opportunity now. He was at Ohio State where it's a little bit tougher to get on the field. I mean, you're talking about one of the top 4 programs in the country. Okunlola was trending up at Pittsburgh. His role was getting better throughout his second freshman season because he played in less than 5 games. So he was able to redshirt that first year. But you're finding some of these guys that are trending in the right direction, and they are still going to be around in Boulder beyond 2024.
I mean, Okunlola's got 3 years to play 3, so he's still really, frankly, a young guy. He put together 5 sacks in those first 2 seasons without playing full time. So he's another one that kind of makes plays and makes things happen. So you throw him into the mix with all the guys we brought in on the edge here, and you got a lot of different types of players. So yeah, I think it's true that all these guys. You can't build with the transfer portal. Well, we're not all bringing in all seniors that we got to replace every year. I mean, on the offensive line, look at all the younger guys that we're bringing in there. So I think Okunlola is certainly one of those guys, has both a few years left here with us, but will be an immediate contributor right off the bat.
Yeah, there's a reason big schools like Florida, Florida State, Texas A&M, and USC were after Okunlola as a transfer, and the future looks pretty bright for his football career. At number 17 is linebacker Nikai Hill Green. I had him at 24th. You had him at 8th. and Brian at 18th. If I was going with my heart, I'd have him 8th, just like you, William, because I really had a great interview with him when he committed to the Buffs, and he played at Michigan. He knows what top level football looks like. He made a ton of plays at Charlotte, a third team all conference guy last year. And he comes to Colorado after being a captain at Charlotte, and he's said and done all the right things. And I really can't wait to see what kind of role he has on this team.
So you said if you had your way, you'd put him higher. What knocked him down for you?
Well, both he and Trevor Woods were a little bit lower on their list just because I didn't know who was going to start next to Vont Bentley. And I guess maybe even Bentley isn't guaranteed that starting spot, but that was part of it there. But I do like that he's got the football IQ side of it, the leadership side of it. He's big enough. He can play Mike linebacker, but he also started out at Michigan more as kind of a hybrid safety linebacker. So he's got a ton of experience in coverage. In hindsight, 24th feels too low for me. And maybe I would have him higher, but I think him coming in at 17 with all of our lists combined is actually a pretty good spot for him to be.
Yeah. And I think he's over 230, so he's certainly and what I see from Charlotte is he's a guy that hits, he's a thumper. So he's a guy that can play that inside spot. And what I really love about him is his maturity and leadership, and he just sort of steps right and says, I'm not messing around. I'm here to make something happen. Yeah. Like you said, having played in the Michigan program, he knows what it requires and what it's like to play at the highest level. So I think he brings something to this defense. And I fully expect, I rate him that high because I think he's going to be the other starting linebacker. So we'll see what happens. And I think he'll be damn good at that spot. And I think he's sort of a good complement to Vont Bentley in terms of their skill set. So I like having him in here as part of that mix.
Yeah. I mentioned that interview I did with him. I asked him, what do you pride yourself on as a player? And Hill Green said, quote, I want someone watching the games to be like, man, whoever he is chasing the ball. He is hunting the ball. He's just relentless. That's how I want to be viewed. I have prepared. I work hard all year to show that this is my lifestyle and I don't take it for granted. I am blessed to be where I am. So I hope my effort shows that. Very mature response there. If you've got a locker room full of guys with that similar mindset, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Right. Because, you're going to have guys out there giving everything they have, and that's what reminds me of back, be it whether it's football teams or the military or what have you, the really elite sort of units that I've been part of, what makes them that way is that nobody wants to be the guy who causes us to fail. And so you drive yourself, it's not that you need to be the best guy in the whole group, but by God, I am not going to be the one that lets us down. And that's what you really need. You can't have anybody in there, who doesn't give a damn or whatever. So, the more guys like this you can get, the better off you are.
Definitely. Another guy in the similar mindset at 16 is defensive lineman Shane Coes. I had him 18th. You had him 17th. Brian 14th. So one of the guys that's closer together on all of our lists than we've had with most guys on this list. And obviously he was a leader from day one coming in from Dartmouth. We've talked ad nauseum about, okay, Shane Coes was better than his stat line says last year. But you've also talked about this with some other defensive linemen they brought in more talent there. So it is a little bit more challenging to kind of put out the pecking order in terms of this countdown.
But I think also with Shane Coes, the fact that they brought in some of these guys allows him to play him in situations that are better for his skill set, so he doesn't have to play that one technique or that three technique, and they can put him out on a 4 and a 5 and let him play on the edges and do more things that fit what he does better. He doesn't have to play in the middle in there, when you got a Chiosi Nwankwo and such. So I think it helps him in a way that it lets him be the guy. Last year, I think he ate up a lot of blocks and freed things up for other people. And I think this year he could be one of those guys that benefits from that. And I'm super high on Shane Coes. I think he's a great player and just a super leader on this team. Probably one of the top 4 or 5 leaders on the whole team, in my view, from what I've seen.
Yeah, definitely. At number 15 is linebacker Vont Bentley. I had him 16th. You had him 24th. Brian 7th on his list. And this was one of the more fun developments that kind of got overshadowed by Colorado's losing streak at the end of last year, because Vont Bentley had his game reps really limited from week 2 to week 5. And part of that time was when Juju Mitchell was playing before he got in trouble. But Bentley really could have gotten down on himself. He came in from Clemson and thought he was going to be the guy and wasn't the guy again from week 2 to week 5. But he gets back in the starting lineup in week 6. And I've wrote this. I think you could make a case that he was their most improved player last year. And part of the reason the defense got a little bit better last year, tied Jordan Dominic for the team lead in sacks. You probably want the edge guys to have a little bit more of a separation in that category this year, but 68 tackles. I thought that he was somebody that the light bulb turned on as we got towards the end of last season.
Yeah, and I think he came in with the reputation that he made the most out of whatever plays he got at Clemson, and I think that he kind of struggled at first, and linebacker, inside linebacker is a funny thing, because you can either process all that chaos or you cannot, and sometimes it takes a while. And I think he, like you said, the light came on for him, and I think the game slowed down, and he started to see what he needs to see. And I think that's been probably in continuing over winter and spring and into summer. And he's one like you talked about with Nikai Hill Green. I probably rated him lower than I should have. I don't know, but I think in my mind I was thinking more of the first half of the season than the second half of the season, so that wasn't really fair. So I think, look, man, we're going to look at this top 40 after this season. I think we're going to see a lot of changes because there's a lot of unknowns with a lot of these guys.
No doubt. Well, I think at 14, though, we know who Cameron Silman Craig is, right? He showed us that last season, playing both safety and nickelback. Probably going to see him more in a traditional safety role with Travis Hunter and Preston Hodge playing more of the nickelback role. But this is another guy we were really close on, again, because I think we know what kind of ball player we have here. I had him 13th. You had him 16th. Brian had him also at 16th. This is, again, another feel-good story from last year. He didn't start the season opener against TCU. Miles Slusher goes down with an injury, and Silman Craig took that opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah, and really displayed that he's a really good player and a really valuable player, and again, versatile. It'd be interesting with Travis Hunter playing some of that nickelback now, and we don't have as much depth at safety. He'll get a lot more playing time back there, but I think he's a guy who could play his way into the next level this year and really make some things happen back there. He's kind of an exciting player to watch.
Yeah. He accounted for 4 turnovers last year, and that's why when I re-ranked the 2023 top 10, I actually had Cameron Silman Craig number 6 on that list.
Nice.
So
yeah.
that again is not to be a broken record, but the fact that he's 14th on this list with some additions, I think is a good sign. It's hard to envision a scenario in which Cameron Silman Craig is not in the starting lineup when the season kicks off.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of one of those guys you got to get him on the field and hope, and find a spot for him.
Yeah. All right, number 13th. This is a fun one.
Yeah.
Jordan Seeden, the true freshman left tackle. I had him 15th. You had him 23rd. Brian, all the way up at number 3. So much separation in terms of our expectations here. The third highest ranked signee in Colorado football since 1999. Expected to start at left tackle. William, all along, you've just tried to kind of temper expectations, and I think it has more to do with this is a true freshman than it has anything to do with Jordan Seeden, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think if we were looking at this list in terms of who's going to be the best players over the next 10 years, number 3 is probably right. I'm not sure who'd be ahead of him. Well, we know the 2 who would be ahead of him clearly, but I can't think of anybody else. So if we were looking
but even Jordan Seeden could, if we were going to actually have that discussion, you project what Jordan Seaton's going to be in 3 years when he probably declares early for the NFL, then I think all 3 of those guys you can make an argument for number 1.
Because he might end up, given his skill set and the value of the position he plays, he very likely could be the first pick in the draft at some point. So I see where that comes from. Well, I can't do it this year because he's a true freshman and he's gonna struggle at times, because it takes a long time to really learn and trust, and that's the part that they don't trust, that technique, right? Because you like, I'm a great athletic warrior football player and I know I can just do this. Man, I don't care how good you are, you got to trust that technique. And the thing, David Bakhtiari is not the biggest hugest dude that ever played the game, but he may be the finest technician at offensive tackle I've ever seen. And that's what makes the difference at this level, because everybody big, okay. And Jordan Seeden, I don't know if you've seen that picture recently in the weight room where he looks like the Hulk. I mean, he has put some work in. And he is not a chubby kid anymore, man. And I'm kind of coming along, but I still think if I had to rank him on in terms of our offensive line right now, Khalil Benson's better, Justin Mears is better, Tyler Brown may be better, but a year from now we may be singing a different tune. But he's a true freshman, right? He just not even a year out of high school. And I think he can come in and do a great job, and I'm really warming up to him at that left tackle spot, and he's really doing a great job. I love his work ethic, but there are going to be times when he doesn't have that technique yet.
Yeah.
That's where I just tamper it down a little bit, and if we were talking right now at this moment, Khalil Benson is a better offensive tackle. He is. He just is. He won't be in 3 years probably, but that's not what we're talking about. So that's why I ranked him where I did. I honestly felt that was the best spot where he fit in for me. And it's not a knock on his abilities. It's just youth.
There was kind of this blue chip jinx against Colorado football, right? Is that until Coach Prime got to Boulder, they just were not attracting that many blue chip guys. And then the ones that they were, a lot of times had character issues. They didn't have that work ethic. And so I think folks kind of got down on the recruiting rankings a little bit, because if you were following Colorado, it was like, none of these blue chippers are going to pan out. Why am I getting so excited when they commit? So it's been refreshing to see Jordan Seeden come on campus and kind of just handle the fame that he has with the class that he does, but also in a fun loving, and he's going to go buy some nice things, but it's not in a cocky or condescending way. Like, he's got this personality, and it goes to the point of like, Colorado was the perfect fit for his personality, I think.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, they did him a huge favor by bringing in some badass dudes like Justin Mears and Khalil Benson, who got that attitude and have played the game and can take him aside and say, hey, Rook, you got to have an edge, man. You got to play with some anger. You got to play with some aggression and still be disciplined. And so to have those kind of warriors on that line, he wouldn't have gained as much being in that group last year because those guys didn't have that leadership ability to teach him that. So I think he benefits from having some of these dogs on the line with him. And I think the fact that he's got those other guys on the line with him is going to make the growing pains a lot easier. And don't get me wrong, I am not down on this kid because he is a fantastic talent. Like I said a minute ago, he may end up being, one of the top 2 or 3 picks in the draft a few years down the road because he's got the work ethic and everything else that goes with it.
I could keep talking about Jordan Seeden for another half an hour, but you've got a day job to get back to here pretty soon. So we'll jump into our next guy on the list. That's number 12, Preston Hodge, cornerback / nickelback. I had him number 6. I'm the highest on him. You had him at 14th, Brian at 20th. He had the 9th highest pass grade in the FBS ranks on PFF in 2023, graded out as the top defender on a Liberty team that went undefeated in the regular season. Versatile, experience, good size, 6 foot 195. Had a lot of the other transfer options, including Auburn and Texas A&M. I'm super excited about Preston Hodge and what he can bring to this football program.
Yeah, and I love his size and his athleticism and his coverage abilities. He's a lockdown corner, and he allows you to do different things with Travis Hunter now. And the next guy we're going to talk about really accentuates that too. But I was just super excited by what these two guys did in spring at the cornerback positions. I guess I'm kind of giving away the next spot, but I'm just really excited by where they, you got to figure that Deion Sanders knows cornerback talent when he sees it. Boy, he sure did. He sure hit the jackpot with these two in my view.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, number 11, cornerback DJ McKinney. I had him 12th. You had him 15th. Brian 8th. He was on the field for nearly 600 defensive snaps as a redshirt freshman at Oklahoma State. And I mentioned this earlier. He was viewed as one of the Cowboys' top young players and great length in size, 6'2", 190. He reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Smith, just in terms of kind of his build. And I would not be surprised to see him develop into an early NFL draft pick in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I just think both of those guys that you know, like you got Travis Hunter, and he's not going to be one of your starting cornerbacks, which is a great thing because you get to use him in a different way to really accentuate his talents, you know. And it's just I'm not sure there's ever been three cornerbacks this good.
But in 2016, you had Isaiah Oliver, Chidozie.
Yeah, I was just thinking that exact same thing, though. So that's why I was starting to shut myself up. You talking defense.
But you mentioned Travis Hunter. I think the plan is okay. Travis Hunter is going to be in the nickelback role if the other team's best pass catchers in the slot. If
Right.
their best pass catchers on the outside, that's where Travis Hunter is. You move Preston Hodge into nickel, but it's not that DJ McKinney can't play nickelback, but with his length, you want him on the outside.
Right. And that's the versatility that they give you as a defensive coordinator, as a defensive backs coach, you know, to make those kind of changes and decisions, put guys on guys, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, with those two guys, every national interview I do where they're like, who are we sleeping on? Like,
yeah.
well, if you don't know who LeJohntay Wester is, that's the first name I'm going to mention. But defensively, you got to talk about DJ McKinney and Preston Hodge because they're going to be known throughout the Big 12 this coming season. The last guy in this segment is number 10, Chidozie Nwankwo, defensive lineman. I had him 8th. You had him 4th. Brian 23rd. I was really surprised. Our 24/7 sports evaluation staff does such a good job, but he got a 3-star rating coming over as a transfer, and they ranked him number 51 among defensive line transfers this offseason. That we're obviously much higher on him. I mean, he was graded out at 74.1 by PFF in 2023, which was the second best on the Cougars defense. 41 games of experience at Houston. Maybe it's the height part of it, but I love it with his wrestling background because he's very quick and he knows how to play with leverage there in the trenches.
Well, I had him at 4th, and there was no question mark. There was no question mark. My first top 4, I didn't have to think about it. I just wrote him down, you know, and he was number 4. And like you said, I think he gets black mark because of his height. You know, he's 5'11", but the bottom line is he played at Houston and he was unblockable. People couldn't handle him, and they're not going to handle him this year either. I think this is going to be the one guy on the team that 2 or 3 or 4 games into the season, when people start going, hey, holy crap, who the hell is this guy? It's going to be Chidozie Nwankwo because he is going to just dominate and beat up on centers. And I think he's a guy that not only will he draw double teams, he'll defeat the double teams and make plays. So I am, if am I gushing? I hope I'm gushing because I'm trying to. I think this guy is the most exciting thing on the defensive line I've seen in Colorado in decades. I don't know. You know, I don't even know who to compare him to, quite frankly, because he's just such a special, different kind of a player. I guess he's at his height with his length. I think you know, I think people think that the height is the be all and end all, but really it's the arm length that matters. And he's special in that regard. And then he's another one just like Tyler Brown. His work ethic and his strength is crazy.
I was once talking with an interior defensive line coach, and he said, I actually love 5'11" guys with a wrestling background. But then, yeah, you measure their arm length and you look at their hands and you see what they're working with. And Mustafa Johnson was like that at Colorado. And you think about BJ Green and Chidozie Nwankwo lining up against each other. I'm not worried about their height, and I can't wait to see what that looks like because those are 2 technicians on the defensive line.
We've proven it, man. You know, this ain't speculation. He played this conference and he kicked their ass. I'm not guessing. It happened last year, man. He's not gonna suddenly lose his ability to play because he came to Boulder.
Yeah. So yeah, I was surprised he was lower ranked, but hey, we get to do the solid here by putting him
Yeah.
number 10 on our list. And you had him number 4, so I can't wait to see what this looks like as we get into the season. But again, like I said, I know you got to get back to your day job, but this was fun.
Yeah.
Every year, I've said it like 3 times since we started this countdown. This is what gets the juices flowing a little bit.
Right. Kind of reminds you that the season's almost here and gets you thinking about it in individual guys. And I don't know, it always gives us the opportunity to talk about a lot of things CU football related. And, you know, and you and I guess we're like a good offensive line. We got chemistry, right?
Definitely. No, this is always fun. And I always appreciate you for taking time out. We've got more guys to talk about, and it's going to get even more exciting as we get closer. And then once we get up to the top 2 spots, we'll have a fun debate like we did last year. So, William, appreciate you. And what's that?
You guys are wrong.
All right.
We'll have to wait for the next episode to know what I'm talking about.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll get into that discussion later. We'll appreciate you, William, and I appreciate everybody out there for tuning in.